Alright everyone, it's JD Esajian and you know what time it is, FortuneBuilders.tv, another new episode. As always, Mr. David Lupica behind the camera capturing all the goods live as we record it now, not when you watch it. And JD Esajian in front of the camera. I decided to shift gears a little bit. Actually, if you've watched the last three shows, I've touched on some marketing ideas and specifically bandit sign marketing, and I've gotten down to a couple of detailed systems within those sections of bandit sign campaigns. And so I wanted to shift gears a little bit. Actually, an idea that came from this last weekend. Paul and I were teaching the rehab bootcamp to our mastery and our inner circle students in Jacksonville, Florida, and I had some pretty good questions that came up in one of our content segments that we were teaching, basically revolving around technology. And as I was teaching some of the technology tools that we use right next door in our CTOM's office, and that we teach to Mastery and Inner Circle students, I realized that not a lot of people understand what technology is out there for us as business owners. And I'll specifically touch on some real estate tips and technology resources. But as you're watching the show and taking notes, as you should be, you're going to realize that these tools are not just applicable to real estate, but to other businesses as well. So let's talk about some of the resources that you can use. And as you see, I've got both my phone and my iPad. Now, substitute a tablet, whatever tablet you use in for your iPad. I happen to use Apple products. But let's talk about some things that you can access from like your iPad or your tablet when you're out in the field. So, you know, you can think about, I'm going to teach you some real estate technology apps and tools that we use in our office that we teach to our students. And imagine being out in the field accessing these things. So let's start with like a place to store your information. Now, there are online storage services, for example, Dropbox. Some of you watching this show probably heard of it, and many of you maybe even use Dropbox. If you haven't, write that down. It's a place to store your information in the cloud, which is up in the air. And be able to access your information from anywhere with an internet connection. Imagine that for a moment. Imagine in your mind's eye being able to get to your information, your important information, from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. That's what we're talking about here when you store your information on the cloud, which is where everything's going. Okay, so that's could be a big tool for you to store your information. Other resources like Google Drive and Google Voice. Now, if you don't have a Google email, first off, you should probably get one because they have a good email service. As importantly, they have a program called Google Drive, which is incorporated with your Google account, that allows you to store information, upload documents, PDFs, Word documents, Excel documents, and then share them with other people that you deem fit. And they can you can limit permissions. For example, you could share your information, a repair sheet that you uploaded, for example, to be able to share that with someone else that could just view it, or you could give them access to edit it, for example. So Google Drive is a big resource that we use across all of our companies for certain key important documents that we want to share with other people. So Google Drive, Google Voice allows you to create multiple phone numbers and basically control where those phone numbers get directed. So if you had a phone number that you wanted all your calls to come to, but it wasn't a easy to remember phone number, you could get a more easy to remember phone number through Google Voice and route all your calls through there. Just another tip on taking in calls. Now let's look at some of the well, so I said Google Drive, Google Voice. There's also other apps that aren't associated with Google that you can download and use to access documents. One is Numbers. So if you went into the and Googled, or not Google, well, you could Google it, but if you went into the App Store, whatever you use, and search for Numbers, or Pages, those are two separate ones. One allows you to access certain kinds of documents. Pages allows you to access more word-based documents. Look, there are other ones that do similar things. I'm sharing with you some of the ones that we use and how we use them. So for example, other apps that you can download, some of you may have heard of, Realtor.com, Trulia, or Zillow. They all have apps. Now, how could you use those? Well, I wouldn't want you to use them to determine the value of your property per se, but you could use them if you were at a property and wanted to go to, for example, Realtor.com and pull up other properties around you that were for sale. You could drive those properties and actually look at other properties nearby there in real time, pull up a map on your iPad and drive those properties. Now, if you don't know this, I'll tell you, the best way to get the accurate determination of your after repair value on your property is by pulling comparables off of the MLS, the multiple listing service. Interesting thing is that a lot of MLS services have their own app that you can download and access the multiple listing service from your iPad or your iPhone or any sort of device that has an internet connection and not be tethered to your computer. Imagine being able to pull comps in the field from the MLS through a mobile device like that, and how much freedom that would give you. Now let's move on to some other apps that many of you know and use, but not for business purposes. Facebook. If you're not using Facebook, there may be something wrong with you at this stage, because most people do, and if you're not using it for personal reasons, that's fine, but think about the business applications. If you've ever followed us on Facebook, whether it's our company or any of the owners of the company, we'll go into a property and we'll take a picture of something and we'll post it on Facebook. It does a couple of things. It creates awareness about our business. It in real time shows what we're doing. If other friends of ours like it, it exposes that to their friends, and then they ultimately could get back to our website, which they could ultimately buy a property from us. They could ultimately sell us a property. Social media allows us to spread news about our business very rapidly. Twitter, same thing, right? I mean, a lot of people use Twitter for personal reasons, but it can also be used for business to spread the word about what you're doing. Skype. Most of us have heard of Skype, many of us have used it. Imagine being in the field, and I can Skype from my iPad. Imagine being in the field, and I was in the field looking at a property, and I wanted to show Paul something in real time to get his opinion on it, although at this stage, I wouldn't need to do that. But if I did want to do that, he would just basically talk my ear off, and he might have some good advice. I shouldn't say that. But let's just say I wanted to do that. I could Skype in the field and show Paul exactly what I was looking at. Or you could show your partner, or your contractor could show you. Huh, think about that. Online, and you can sign, now let's talk about another resource, DocuSign. DocuSign is just one form of an online signing tool that allows you to securely digitally sign documents. So imagine being in the field, analyzing a property, and you got a hot deal that came your way, you had to sign the offer. You could log in, and in that secure environment, sign that offer, not have to go back to your office, print it out, sign it, scan it back in, and email it. Boom. Offers in, contracts, properties under contract. So those are just some of the apps and the technology tools that we use. Now there are many others. Those are some of the big ones. And I really want everyone, as they're watching this show and taking notes, to think about some of the things that they use to streamline their business and share those below the show. That's why we do these shows, for you to give feedback, for you to learn, for you to interact. So do so. All right? So those are some of the tools I wanted to share. Next section is deal or no deal.
Deal or no deal?
So deal or no deal is very simple. To be in the cloud or not in the cloud. Cloud or no cloud. Well, hopefully by now you realize that being in the cloud, which means storing information in some sort of online cloud-based server or environment where you can access it anywhere, is powerful, extremely powerful, because it releases the chains that may tie you to your office, and it allows you to do more things wherever you're at. Conduct business, wherever you're at, if you want to. If not, you don't have to, but it allows you to get more done, and it gives you a competitive advantage. Last section is our quote of the week.
Quote of the week.
Quote of the week, I went to someone new, someone that I haven't heard of, although I know he is an author because I searched him really quickly online. And here's a quote, and it's good. I actually posted it on my Facebook page earlier in the week. Make sure you visualize what you really want, not what someone else wants for you. Read that one more time. Make sure you visualize what you really want, not what someone else wants for you. And the gentleman's name is, I'm going to pronounce it Giles, last name Giles, Jerry Giles. I may be not pronouncing that correctly, but that's the way I read it. Nevertheless, it's a great quote, and I don't know that that needs much explanation. I mean, if you're not going after your own dreams and creating your own lifestyle, creating your own destiny, then a little piece of you is dying each day. So go after what you want. Make sure you visualize what it is you really want, and go after it. Enjoy the show, share it, lead, teach, and inspire in everything that you do in your life, and we'll see you next week.